Hi, I'm Anna. I'm a tattoo artist based in Los Angeles, and I go to USC.
This is Anna, a very talented tattoo artist based in Los Angeles. As a student, she has found tattooing to be her main source of income, but for her, it's more than just a means to an end. What sets Anna apart is her philosophy around the art of tattooing. Her upbringing and introduction to the world of tattoos have shaped her beliefs about the medium and how it connects her to others.
I grew up in a very conservative family from China, spent 13 years of my life there, and during that time was really struggling with queer expression, gender expression, wanted to be a part of that culture and society and not being able to was very difficult. And I came to America when I was 13, away from my parents, away from that kind of external influence, and realized how much freedom I had here, all the endless opportunities to explore, everything I wanted to do. And I got my first tattoos when I was 17 in San Francisco and immediately fell in love with the culture of the shops, of the workers, of the people who were curious about getting tattoos, who had a lot of tattoos. It was really like a great sense of community around the subculture, around like punk culture, rebellion, the absurd, everything that I've always felt in me but wasn't able to express.
Since its origin, tattooing as a medium has formed a symbolic space where tattooed individuals, often those marginalized within U.S. society, could find belonging among others who felt out of place in the so-called natural order of things. Long before tattooing became a more defined community after the 1960s, sailors, bikers, prisoners, and others living on the outskirts recognized parlors as a place where they could claim identity and solidarity. Anna's conservative upbringing mimics the conservative culture of the United States when tattooing emerged. This has impacted the way Anna views the medium. Her style and attitude towards tattooing are a lot different from the modern-day middle-class perspective of the art form, which places importance on permanence and fine art, which is much more similar to tattooing's earlier working-class and outsider traditions, which values a spontaneous and communal approach to tattooing. Anna reclaims the practice's working-class and subcultural origins, rejecting the middle-class ideals of high art and permanence to embrace tattooing as a living expression of freedom and absurdist joy.
So I got my first tattooing kit the summer I turned 18 when I was in China because I was really bored and I just bought like a fuck-ass tattoo.
You can curse.
A fuck-ass tattoo kit off of like Amazon and just started basically doodling on myself. There's a lot of procedures you have to go through to start tattooing on skin and I just did not do any of that. Was very, compulsive. And I was just having a lot of fun, like these ones that I all did on myself just for funsies. And my first tattoo I did on another person's skin was like completely different. It was on someone who at the time was very important to me and a very kind and gentle and unique individual that I felt so lucky to even talk to. And he said, "Give me a tattoo," and I was so honored. And I remember shaking, my entire body was shaking when I was about to put the needle in because even though I've done like a bunch on myself already, it was the first time doing it on someone else and the pressure was just completely different. The trust that I felt that he had on me and at the same time the trust I had to have for him, it was very overwhelming and I didn't do a great job, obviously. It was very shaky, it was very scary, but it made me realize just how incredible it was to put my art and pieces of who I was onto the skin of someone else permanently and to leave that mark on them. And that's the reason why I get tattoos as well, just to have that mark of that history, of that person, of that life and feeling on me forever.
Anna welcomes the permanence of tattoos with positivity, never allowing it to hold her back from committing. This outlook differs significantly from the way permanence is often perceived in the tattoo community today. The tattoo community refers to a new, predominantly middle-class movement born out of the tattoo renaissance that gained momentum after the 60s and celebrates tattoos as spiritual, poetic, and self-empowering. The general belief held by many community members is the notion that the body is a temple to be decorated, not desecrated. Statements like this greatly influence how tattooing is currently defined and perceived by the general public. In Anna's case, the concept of a piece of art being on your body forever isn't one approached with fear and uncertainty, but rather she welcomes this feeling, and she cherishes the unknown and the absurd, placing importance on the experiences that bring her the art and her connections with those she's tattooing or being tattooed by. She detailed saying that she would love to have her body filled with the art of the people that she's met throughout her life and those she encounters, holding on to the stories rather than the quote-unquote quality of art itself, although that is also cherished by her.
The this one is ignorant, this one's very ignorant, all of these down here are ignorant, which basically means someone takes their pen, takes their gun, and just doodles on me. Like, I've had a lot of people freehand, these were free-handed. Up my leg I have a few that's free-handed. I have 2 gay men having sex right here. I have adult films right here, and I have cocaine down my stomach.
The ignorant style was popularized by a French graffiti artist in the 90s who developed it as a form of rebellion and freedom of expression. The same sort of freedom and rebellion embraced by sailors or bikers in tattooing's early American days, although the styles differ. A key value in these tattoos was the stories exchanged in the parlor and the connections formed between artist and client.
So it's just examples of how I don't really care about what I'm putting on my body, in a sense that it has to have some sort of meaning, because I'm a big fan of the absurd, of Camus. I'm a big fan of just living life freely and doing what you want. And for me, that means putting pieces of art that I find entertaining or unique or fun to look at on myself and on other people. And I'm really glad that the ignorant style is coming back nowadays, because I think tattooing has become so much more strict, with like parents telling their kids that they won't get jobs or that it's permanent. Like, of course it's permanent, but so what? That shouldn't change your opinion on what you're putting on yourself. It's your choice.
Anna references Camus' philosophy as a big inspiration, specifically his thoughts on the absurd and his emphasis on quantity over quality, given the inherent uncertainty of life. Camus believed that rather than deny life's absurdity, we can establish a more authentic happiness by embracing our own absurd, unknown fate. Instead of being bogged down by the thought that nothing matters, he welcomes you to bask in it and live life freely, knowing that in the end it won't matter anyway, so have some fun with it. This idea reflects Anna's personal tattooing philosophy and pairs nicely with his ideas on quantity over quality, a truth that Anna also lives by. Intrigued by the absurd, Anna uses tattooing as a way to connect and bond with the people in her life, taking away the stress and importance of permanence. When she came to the US, she gained a newfound sense of freedom and liberation, and immediately from her first tattoo experience, realized as an artist, tattooing was something she wanted to do. This passion has truly bled into all of her work, and is why she has this attitude when tattooing and is not hung up on the subject and more on the bond and the sentimentality that comes from the tattoo's context.
Yeah.
Fire.